too, that when you go by an orchard or something, the driver would run in the orchard and fill his hat with apples or peaches or whatever it was. Then he'd drop back alongside of the boats and toss them over to us kids and the mother and father on the canal boats.
Yeah.
And I remember when we used to go through Jordan there, they had them muck gardens, and there was a lot of Italian farmers there, raising celery, radishes, lettuce, and all that thing. When we go by there, they come up on the towpath and ask if you want to buy any vegetables. And my mother told my father what to get, and after he got the vegetables, he'd put 50 cents or a quarter in a potato and toss it off to the guy on the towpath to pay for the vegetables.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
There's in the dry dock at Durhamville,
Yeah.
they're restoring that now. And they've dug out all the dry docks, and they're going to put in the buildings that were originally there.
Chittenango too, I hear.
Yeah, or maybe it was Chittenango.
Yeah, it is
I'm sorry, it's
Chittenango.
Chittenango. You're right, I was wrong.
Oh.
And but anyways, apparently in the enlarged area there's a couple of canal boats that have sunk, and they're going to try to raise them.
Oh, they used to build boats down in Chittenango.
Oh,
They
really?
built boats in Durnville.
So they think they're intact yet?
Yeah, they think so. They've been underwater because that section was never really drained.
The guy that owned the dry dock and built the boats in Durhamville, his name was Will Dorr.
That's right.
And the canalers all liked him, I guess. I guess you give the canalers credit, and the canalers paid him back, and he was a very popular man.
It cost $3,000 for a boat.
For a canal boat?
Yeah.
What year was this?
Back in probably 1912 or before. My grandfather bought one, named after my mother. $3,000 he paid for it. But most of them had users. Users was just as good.
Uh-huh. And this was the 100-foot long boat?
17-foot wide.
17 beam. Wow.
So even that was a lot of money back then, though.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say the canal was exactly poor. My grandfather made money enough out of it to buy 2 farms.
Wow.
That was good. Was this Venlo? Grandpa
That's
Venlo?
right. That's right.
He had that big farm up on the hill, in
Yeah.
Codnoy.
Yeah.
You could look out and see all of Codnoy. You could see the river too from there, couldn't you?
Yeah. Pretty sure everybody who lived there was canalers in Codnoy.
Mm-hmm. Just
You
because they
know,
run the river, huh?
Prior to the first slab-sided canal boats, the canal boats were all they were made of oak, and they had to put a framework first, nail the planks onto the frame. But along in the 1880s, I guess it was, they made the first slab-sided canal boat at Ithaca, New York. And the sides were 4 inches thick, and then they run drift bolts down through them to hold together. And to hold the sides to the bottom, they had what they called a chime log at the end of the bottom of the sides. And then, of course, the chime log was mortise for the floor timbers to go through.
Yeah.
And to hold the sides together, they had turnbuckles running through the boats from chime log to chime log, and then things stayed in the boats for the rest of the boat's life. That kept the boat from flying apart.
Yeah. And then the steamboats come around about 1890 or 1890 or so. The steamboats.
Earlier than that, Glenn, they was in the 1870s they
Yeah.
started on the
Yeah.
Erie Canal.
With a steamboat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steam canalers, they called them.
Yeah. They had some pretty wild experiments in and around Rochester. They even had an electric canal boat. They had wires over the canal, and they would hook up like a trolley car.
Yeah.
And it was an experiment. I guess it
They
wasn't
did the
too-
same in Tonawanda.
But the Tonawanda too. Yeah.
I think they had one in Schenectady area too, didn't they? The
Uh-huh.
electric.
Yeah. They
line?
they thought it would be, but I guess the problem was the crew members were afraid of being electrocuted with the being on water.
They would, wouldn't
Especially when it rained.
Right. Yeah.
Boy, they would be,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. It's a bit of a problem.
Well, the big problem was with these electric cars, they hung on a cable.
Yeah.
Now, when they passed the pole and they went down in the sag, where it was all right, but when started to go up the sag, they couldn't get up there
Oh,
because things was too steep. It was tried out, but never worked out. The mules hung right on until the end of 1917.
Yeah.
Where did you say, John, the boats are, that are still intact, you think? In the,
at Chittenango, yeah, they said that, there were one or two boats on the south side of the enlarged Erie, right there at the dry
Really?
dock. They're underwater,
Yeah.
and they're gonna try to raise them.
Oh, I don't
But
see
as
why
long as
they
they're
can't.
underwater, they're preserved, because the
Yeah.
water won't hurt them, but
Now, anything below water line
Uh-huh.
won't rot.
won't rot. But they're a little afraid to bring them up because they don't have the, well, they don't have the funds for one thing.
Yeah,
And,
that's all trouble.
I'm hoping this is all gonna change,
I hope.
someday, because there's such a heritage with the canal. It really built the state.
Hey, Glenn, have you been over to Camillus?
Well, you know, every trip, you had to have these mules reshod,
Uh-huh.
new shoes. They cost $16 a trip.
Oh, really?
You see, you could go down and come back, then in Tonawanda, you had to have the mules shod, right?
How
Yeah.
much was the mule worth?
$500 when they was brand new,
Oh.
prime mule.
And what was the
From there on
lifetime?
down, some of them 100, some of them 200, but a good one 500.
Yeah,
What's the
I-
lifetime
young.
of a, what's the lifetime of a mule?
15 years,
Oh, 50.
but they couldn't stand it on the boat.
I suppose their age had a lot.
About 10 years,
Their age had a lot to do with their value.
yeah. Now the driver.
And
My old man, he had farm kids. They understood the mills and the mills stood them.
Mm-hmm.
and what'd you do with the mules in the winter?
Put them in the barn.
The barn on the farm? How about the
Yeah.
other boatmen? Where'd they put them?
Well, they put them on every place to feed them. Anybody to take care of them.
That was a problem with the mules. It cost you money when you were doing any work.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you took 2 loads of lumber to New York City, you had to leave the mules off of the boat in Albany, and they put them on a farm or in a livery stable
Yeah.
until you came back up from New York City, which maybe was 6-7 days. Then you pick up your mules again.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll be darned.
It cost just as much when they was resting as when they were working.
But then you had to make some money to
Yeah.
tide you over, right?
Yeah.
But what did the boatmen do in the winter when everything was frozen over?
Oh, they tied up. We left our boats at State Bridge down there. Well, one time we left them to Kirkville. We got froze in. You know, you can't use it when you get that thin ice. It cut a hole right through the boat.
Mm.
Cut a hole, cut the lumber right out.